Hi, everyone. It's Professor Chew, and amazingly, we are up to week 12, and Thanksgiving is next week. So just a first little note about the final exam. Please keep in mind that the dates that I mentioned the two dates that I mentioned are definite, and those would be the Thursday, December the 15th, from 9 a.m. to 12 or 12 noon to 3 p.m. That's technically reading day, I know, but just due to some scheduling issues, that's the day that I will be on campus the whole day from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And you can take the exam really between any of those times. It would be better if you came at 9 or noon just to give yourself the full 3 hours. Hopefully most of you won't have something that you have to do that day, like an exam or work or some such. And then we're definitely also going to be offering the exam on Saturday, December the 17th from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. I've only heard from about 4 people who can't make these dates, though not everyone said they could make them. So I am going to be sending around either next week a survey just about the final exam dates or the week after. But I want you to know that these are the best dates to really take the exam. And that's partially because Christmas is on December the 25th. Which is the week after this exam, well, the sooner you can take it, the better, just because the holidays are coming and everything's going to be a little crazy the week afterwards. So anyways, I am trying to figure out one other date, which would either be before these dates or after them. And I don't have a really good sense of what would work for everybody, but I really do encourage you to come to these exams. Also, if you can come to the one on Thursday, December the 15th, that is ideal because will be there. This Saturday one will be proctored by a graduate student. And because I will be proctoring the Thursday exam, that means that I will, as soon as you give me your exam, I will grade it and be able to get your grade posted and tell you what it is as soon as possible. Whereas any exams taken after this day will have to be mailed to me, and it will just take a little bit more time with the holiday mail rush and all that kind of stuff for me to get it and get things together. So just wanted to let you know that. And then, well, regarding this week's homework, after so many weeks of kind of all the same homework, this assignment for this week is a little bit different. And as you looked at the back of the book, they start to kind of change how they have the homework set up. So taking a quick look at our textbook, the musculoskeletal system. So the word muscle, yes, it comes from Latin. It's a diminutive. This is a diminutive suffix, culus, for mus, meaning mouse. And there's a couple things to know about how the names of muscles are formed. Generally, they are from Latin. They can be formed because of a physical characteristic of a muscle, like the bipinnate muscle, because pinna means a feather. So that's a muscle that's named for what it looks like. It looks like it's 2 feathers, or because the muscle fibers flow down either side of a central tendon, like the barbs on the 2 sides of a feather. So it looks like the structure of a feather, so to speak, this muscle. Muscles can also be named after the organ of the body that the muscle is attached to, like the nasalis muscle. So that refers to the nose. Or they can be named after a combination of both. So based on what a physical characteristic they have, but also the part of the body they're associated with. So we have biceps here, meaning 2-headed. So that's a muscle that is attached to 2 different organs or a bone or some such. So the biceps muscle attached to both the scapula and the coracoid. And then brachii is actually in the genitive case. That's what we just had the quiz on twice in the past couple weeks. So literally this could be translated as a 2-headed muscle of the arm. So remember, genitive is always translated with of, and that is why we actually looked at the genitive, because Mr. Perry really to do this chapter. The 4th way that muscles are named is after the function they perform. So in other words, they may lift something. They can be a levator, or bend something, a flexor, take something, pull something away, abductor. So that's the preposition ab, meaning away, duct, meaning to lead or to take, and this or indicates that there's an agent of something. That's a suffix, things we've all learned. Adductor is something that takes something towards, pulls something towards. Extensor means you're stretching something out. So the abductor pollicis brevis muscle, the abductor pollicis longus muscle, they abduct, so they take something away. And they are the abductor muscle, in other words, of the, well, this is the short muscle that takes away of the thumb. This is the long one that takes away of the thumb. This is an adjective. Brevis is an adjective. Longus is also an adjective. So they're actually describing the word muscle, saying something about it. Whereas pollicis or pollicis here, in Latin, you pronounce the C as a K. So that's why I pronounce it that way. That refers to the thumb. So I know it is a muscle of the thumb. And then the book explains that that the names of muscles are given according to the Terminologia Anatomica, excuse me, abbreviated TA, which replaces something called the Nomina Anatomica. Nomina actually is the word for names in Latin. Now it's, whereas the names of muscles were originally given in Latin in this Nomina Anatomica, in the Terminologia Anatomica, they are also given in English. So you might see the Latin term musculi intercostales interni, that refers to an internal, intercostal muscles. And perhaps, but after, we looked at the plurals of Latin nouns and the genitives, those different ways you change the ending of Latin nouns, but that's what's going on here. Musculi is in the plural, it's muscles, because it has the I ending. And these are actually plural endings too, because these are in Latin, when you have a noun and it's plural, any adjectives with that noun also have to be made plural, not like in English. This chart some of it should be familiar because we looked again at, the basic form of a noun is called the nominative, or the singular form. We looked at, auricula or digitus, labium, mus, manus, genu, all parts of the body. These are Latin words for them. When they're put in the genitive, here we saw the AE that we learned with the A, the I with the us. I didn't have you learn all these actually just because I felt like I tried to teach you the most common ones and the easiest ones without going into too much detail about Latin, but also the IS for a noun, for this noun. Nouns also take a plural form, and that's what we looked at for our quiz last week. This week, you may not have taken the quiz yet when you're watching this. So when a noun has an A in the singular, you add AE to make it plural. US in the singular, I makes it plural. UM in the singular, A makes it plural. This one is a little weird. I know it ends in a US, but it actually has an ES as its plural. It's because it's from a different class or type or group of noun than digitus, this word moose, you add an ES. And these forms are a little easier. This US, this word actually stays the same, the word for hand, and the word for knee also adds an A. You don't need to worry too much about that. Learned, the book also gives you here the plural genitive forms for all these different types of nouns. We've only seen this orum ending, meaning of the fingers. And there's definitely a question about that on the quiz. So what you need to do though, as far as doing your homework for this lesson this week is a little bit different in various ways. And again, it helps for you to know something about how muscles are formed. So one thing to keep in mind is that for all of these words here, these are names of muscles, the word muscle is implied. That's why it's in parentheses here. So rectus femoris, that means the straight muscle, the word's implied, of the thigh. So in other words, the first word of many muscles in English are formed by either using the word muscle or not, then with an adjective. This is an adjective actually meaning straight, describing some characteristic of the muscle, like it's a straight muscle. Or this is actually an adjective too, an extensor muscle. So this muscle, this word describes what the muscle looks like. This one describes what it does. It tenses or it contracts out. And femoris and indicus, well, they're in the genitive case. And I hope, as you know by now, or hope that you know, femoris and indicus, because they're genitive, that means you're adding of. And generally in Latin, adjectives just follow the nouns they describe. So the word muscle is actually implied here. So names of muscles, sometimes they can just have one adjective or sometimes they can have two. So this because we have a long muscle that draws something towards it, or a short one that does that, or a flexing muscle, or etc. For your homework, you really will need to look at this vocabulary list, selected vocabulary for names of muscles, because the way that I have set up the homework is that I give you a really long list of muscles and you have to match them with their definition. So this list will be very helpful. And in point of fact, and you also need to take a look at this list on page 220. This is a list of different types of bones, and it notes the English word, the Greek or Latin words that these bones come from, that they're derived from. So in many places, many of the bones in our bodies are based on Latin or Greek words, and the reason that they're named as they are is because of what the bones looked like to an ancient Greek or Roman person. So in other words, the clavicle, which is the collarbone, literally it comes from the Latin word meaning clavis, which is a key. This col is a diminutive suffix, so it's a little key because it looks like a little key to an ancient person's eye. Whereas the patella, the kneecap, means a little dish. This is a diminutive suffix. Patena is an open dish. Mandible, a jawbone. This means something that is able to chew. We've actually seen this able as a suffix. Fibula is literally the Latin word for a brooch or a safety pin, like a piece of jewelry. Scaphoid, when we know the oid means to be shaped like something. Scaph means a boat. Zygoma, in this case, this oma we've learned really to mean a tumor, but it doesn't really mean that here. It just has the meaning of a bone of the cheek, and it's based on the fact that bone looks like a yoke that you put on horses or on oxen. Trapezium is a little table. This is actually a diminutive in Greek. Cuneiform, for means it's something is shaped like something else, shaped like a wedge. Malleus is an ossicle, or ossicle means a little bone, because the CLE is, yes, a diminutive suffix, ossi meaning bone. Of the middle ear, it means a hammer. Incus oxicle, a little bone that looks like an anvil. The sacrum, the base of the vertebral column, is a sacred thing because that's the part of the body that animals, that's a part of the body that was used in making sacrifices. And ancient Greeks and Romans practiced animal sacrifice in their temples to the various Olympian gods. That's mythology, another topic. And well, these three bones all in the wrists all looked like to ancient people. The moon, lunate, hamat, a hook, or a piece of form like a pea. And then also tarsus refers to something that has a wicker frame, just because of how that looks. And phalanges, which refers to the bones of the fingers or the toes. So to this, this configuration here of, your hand or your foot. Bones. That actually comes from a Greek word phalanx, which refers to a battle line. And this historical note here is kind of jammed into this little space. I found it kind of amusing because talking about Philip of Macedon, Alexander the Great, and the phalanx, which is how they conquered the rest of Greece, and then a lot of the other part of the known world at that time. That's a kind of a long explanation to put into a parenthetical comment. Anyways, this is called the phalanx or the phalanges because it looks like the idea of a line of soldiers all lined up to fight in a battle. And the thing about the Macedonian phalanx was that they were, as it says here, 16 cross, 16 deep, trained to maneuver with great dexterity. In other words, to maneuver together on the battlefield. Okay. You actually don't need to know these words, though, for the exam. You just need to know them for this homework assignment and for the quiz that we'll take on it. But I'm not going to, I realize that the vocabulary is piling up for our exams. So these will not be on the exam, but you should take a look at them. So for the homework assignment, what I did was the book has this list of muscles and mentions that you're supposed to figure out their function. So what I did was in our homework is I typed up the whole list of muscles and 45 different muscles. I feel I learned a lot putting together this homework assignment, let me tell you. And what did I do? Well, I mean, the first part of our homework assignment, as you can see, is strictly a matching vocabulary assignment. Okay. And, you know, I wanted to remind you with this book, as always, with all of your homework assignments, you have plenty of time to do this. This one is not due until the Friday after Thanksgiving. And if you have a lot going on for Thanksgiving, you still can't get to it. I have a feeling a lot of you are going to do it this weekend or before, which is great. I really appreciate that. You know, take your time and maybe do the assignment and go check your answers. Of course, use the book. Because this assignment is really different. It doesn't have, you don't have to do that long definition section. You have to write all the definitions for the word. Sorry, but you'll miss that. And I know, I like to see how you do that because that part is really important. But this is pretty much a multiple choice vocabulary exercise about the muscles and the vocabulary used for them. So you're gonna look at page 218, 219, and then you're gonna look at page 220 to do this. This is the one that is about the bones. And so it's a matching exercise basically. But you know, I would recommend that you not do this just by having the book open and putting in the answers. I really recommend that you look first at the book, do the exercise, see how many you get right or wrong, you know, check your answers, and then, you know, you can save them as you know, and don't hit submit until you absolutely have to. So, for the best kind of learning. This is the muscle section. Okay, so for this section here, part 2, what I did is there's about 6 or 7 names of muscles. Deutero digiti minimi muscle, extensor digiti minimi muscle, flexor digiti minimi brevis manus muscle, etc. And so this is, you know, basically matching. Tell me what their definitions are. But all the muscles mentioned in the book's exercise are here in groups of 6 or 7. And, you know, when you're doing it, I just want you to keep in mind the different definitions of these words describing, you know, the functions of muscles and what they look like and with what part of the body in the genitive. So this is of the big toe, hallucis, of the thumb, pollicis. Where they're from, because, well, I would say that in putting together this exercise, I thought a lot about, you know, the parts of the body. What can I say? Okay. So please do that. And again, you know, take your time with it. You know, don't just go do it and submit it and say, oh, I'm done with the homework. You know, I would do this homework once, let it sit aside, and then go back to it. The only word analysis part of this homework is the last part where you have, in very familiar fashion, a bunch of words to break down in the way that we have. All the words to break down are actually from lesson 18. So instead of being from the section of the book on the musculoskeletal system, they're from lesson 18 in the book, which is on the neurological system. And those words will be on the exam. But also to tell you, the nervous system. So again, this chapter is very similar to the ones that we did about the respiratory system, the genitourinary system, the optic system. It's, you know, an explanation about the vocabulary. In the neurological system, the vocabulary from Greek and Latin, especially on things like why this is called the dura mater, and the pia mater. This word mater actually means a mother. In Latin, and the book points out that the word, this expression is actually a translation of an Arabic term. So in other words, some of these, let's see, some of these explanations come out of interesting histories, but what you need to know, okay, I'm just being practical here. What you need to know for this, this is the vocabulary on this section. It's not very, it's not a lot compared to things you've done before. So these words will also be on the final exam. And, you know, one thing to keep in mind is that many of these words, to a person who studied Latin and Greek, that would be me, they are words for common things, like pons or pont means a bridge, dendron refers to a tree in Greek, arak refers to a spider, cortex refers to the bark of a tree, its sort of coat. So in other words, a lot of these words, again, used to describe body parts have those names because of what they looked like to ancient people. Do note this word fascicle or fascicule means a little bundle, fasciculus, and it does have a diminutive suffix, but you can actually leave it this way when you do the homework because since the book has it listed this way. But a fasces is actually a bundle, and adding the diminutive suffix makes it a little bundle. And here's the explanation about the dura mater and the pia mater, referring to the meninges that cover the brain, and pointing out that the terms that we use are in Latin. They were actually translated from Arabic. If you're interested in medical history, the book has a very interesting note here that has to do with ancient history and the transition of knowledge. I mean, namely, one of the reasons I think there's so much confusion about medical terms is that a lot of our knowledge of the ancient world, in the time that modern medicine was in its early, coming to be, a lot of our knowledge is in Latin. People didn't always know Greek. And one of the reasons for that was that after the fall of the Roman Empire, 476 AD or CE, the use of Greek really falls out of use in sort of Europe and the West, which of course has a big influence on us in America. And Greek still is used in the eastern part of the Roman Empire, therefore in what we would call the Near East today. But what starts to happen is that medical texts in Greek are used in the Near East, and they're translated into Arabic often. So that's one way that many things, including some works of Aristotle, are saved. It's only gradually, that these Arabic translations of Greek texts make their way to Europe. In fact, they don't make their way certainly in the Middle Ages. As it says here, by the early Middle Ages, practically all knowledge of ancient Greek literature, including the medical works, is lost in the West. But very, very slowly, people in Western Europe start to rediscover Arabic versions of Greek writers. So in other words, they take Arabic versions of Greek writers and start translating those into Latin. So you can imagine, something originally written in Greek got translated into Arabic and then gets translated into Latin. And so that's why some of the names for medical terms, they just have very convoluted histories for why something's called something. And that's the case with these terms, pia mater and dura mater. Apparently, they are translations from Arabic of the meninges. At this point, only 2 of them were thought to be known. In the Arabic translation of Galen, who's a Greek writer, the Greek terms are translated as hard mother and thin mother. Arabic used for mother is used to translate the Greek meninx, suggesting that, maybe that membrane sort of, provides protection for the spinal cord, like a mother would her child. So it is, if you want to take a glance at these exercises, though, you can yourself, but I gave you a sort of a traditional word analysis assignment to do instead there. So that's just what I wanted to say about the homework for this week. So it's not due to next Friday, after Thanksgiving. And then there's also a quiz. That won't be due till Sunday. And if you really need more time, it's really fine. Just ask me, send me an email, and you can do that because I know it is Thanksgiving and you guys have worked really, really hard this semester. And so we just have, we're going to go to the end of the book. I haven't actually done that with any class before, but I feel like, I don't think every single chapter, lesson 20 is definitely not going to be on the final exam, but I do feel that we'll just take a look at it. It's just about biological nomenclature. So we'll just have a homework assignment on lesson 20, but I think that, there'll be sort of a limit to how much vocabulary we're actually asking you to memorize. So I am working on some review materials for the final exam too. So with all that said, keep up the good work. Have a really good holiday. I'm going to be out here. Hope you have a good time with your families, and I'll be spending my Thanksgiving with mine. So take lots of care. Keep your questions coming. I certainly check my email during all vacations. Take care. Bye.